Hi, I'm Colt from Spit and Tex Upholstery. We're going to do a boat seat today. We're going to start with tear down. And then once we remove the skin, I'll show you everything inside. And then we will tear down the skin into its components. And then we'll trace it and foam it, etc., etc. So, I would recommend when you start a tear down on something, photograph it. Photograph where all of your piping meets, where there might be pleats. If there's a stretch like this, just so you know, it's important that you photograph it, or even make a short video of everything you do if you're just starting out. Even if you've been doing it a long time, it's a good thing to have a reference. You will come back to these. So anyway, we're going to start a tear down. Here we go. There are several tools that you can use. You can use a staple puller. You can use a broad fin like this. You come under, and on these trims on the boats, your staples are hid in the middle. So you want to gently pry these up. You can see where they're at as you come, and just pry them up so the staples are in there. It's a little bit more work, but a lot of these you can't find. And if you can salvage them, I recommend doing so. So you just walk around, and you can see, come right in the middle of the staple, and you can see them through the groove too sometimes. But you can use this tool, or you can use your staple puller, but this one's more gentle. And you just systematically walk around and remove this without damaging it. So these are some of the joys of upholstery work. And you just gotta take the meticulous and just make it a moment in time. And you just keep on chipping away, and before you know it, you'll be around the entire perimeter. And you'll be good to go. Some of this stuff you can't use over, you'll have to replace. But if you can find this, I would recommend using a brand new piece. Sometimes you can't, like I said. Ask the customer if they're okay with it. You never know. But tear down's just as important, because you're going to want these for patterns. Once this is skinned, you want to take your seam ripper and take it all apart gently, and then iron it out. Get it all wet, iron it out to where you got a decent pattern. But like on gussets like this, you just take it off and take a measurement, and then cut a brand new one. But for inside panels and stuff like that, you'll want to use the original for a pattern. And then everything's going to be exact always. So I recommend always trying to reuse, the original pattern, because it's a little more work to take plastic and pins and tape and create another pattern. That will be another video that I'll show you how to do. We'll start from ground zero, and I'll show you how to do that. This one here, they have a French seam on this. I'll show you how to make a French seam and what a French seam is probably in the next video. But like I said, on these, this is this is an aesthetic piece. Like if you pinch it open, that's where you staple down the middle, and it covers where these two pieces of fabric meet. How you fold it over and pleat it and staple it. This covers it. It's just a nice aesthetic thing that we do in the industry. Everything is hidden. So there's one piece. And then here's another. I started earlier. Yeah, you get her all up gently with these, and then you pick up the old Osborne staple puller. Tried, true, and tested. It's a good tool. So that's off, and then you can come back later and pull these out with a pair of needle nose or whatever if you're going to reuse them, if you don't have any more of this particular trim. Yeah, and then you just start. Dig it at an angle, pop it up. Angle pop, angle pop, angle pop, angle pop, angle pop, angle pop. Then you'll come back through later, like I said, with a pair of pliers of some sort. There's many different styles, curved, flat, but you know, you want to be mindful too. You don't want to dig way down deep because you'll pull the wood up. So you just enough to get a bite, and you twist. You know, you just kind of dive and twist, dive and twist, dive and twist, dive and twist. You just walk down, but like I said, you don't want to dig down deep to where you will mar and distort or destroy the wood, because this is all wood frame underneath it here. Everything goes on. It's always wood. Sometimes you'll get plastics, different kinds of carbon fibers. Kind of rare, but they do exist. These older boats, it's always a piece of wood. Yep, you just walk around. Break it loose, and then you know, you can see how it comes together. See, like I said, that's all wood on this decorative piece here. So yeah, we have to pull it free. You just systematically walk around the perimeter of every piece. In this aspect, they're all the same. Dive and twist, dive and twist, dive and twist. You can see here where these pleats are. I took a picture of this earlier, so I know. And you get in the habit. Old friend of mine always told me, witness marks are your friends. So what I do, a lot of times, Sharpies. You can never have enough Sharpies. So what I do, you see where these pleats are? I'll come like this, and I'll draw a little pin mark. So I know for sure that's where those were at. And then once I get this outside skin off, see how that meets? Then I'll mark again, like right there underneath of this, where those pleats are. So then I know I have a reference point to where you can put this back together exactly like it was. That's our goal. We duplicate things. And then you improve as you go sometimes, because some upholsterers are better than others. You know, some of them, they put a really shady pattern together and they kind of make it work. And it distorts the outside, like a lot of this is distorted. These pipings, they dive in, which they shouldn't. They should ride the perimeter always. So I will have to adjust, and I'll show you how to do that. You just add more fabric. You'll see it when this pattern's laying flat. Little tricks, another little trick. There'll be many of them. Like I said in my other video, you feel you're unsure about sharing all your trade secrets, but why not? And like this is a little too low. You want this right at the edge of your foam always. The aesthetic value is key always. Your eye will tell you. Piece of foam comes up and there's an edge and it rounds or it dives. That piping has to ride the edge of that foam perfect. As you can see, this is not correct. It dives in, comes flush and correct, almost correct there, and then dives down. So it should ride all the way around the edge of this foam. And you'll be able to admire it on a different level in your boat. The seat is what the seat is, and don't waver from that. So, and like I said, these are French seams here. He's got tape on it and whatnot, but this is a great video to show you how to do this. But this first aspect of it is tear it apart, and tear it apart correctly and gingerly. You know, think about destroying the wood underneath, which you don't want to do. So you just, you know, these staples will pop right out all the time. You just walk around, and that's part of upholstery, is the mundane tasks. You'll that'll make or break you. Either you can handle it or you can't. But it's artwork. It's just like a painter. You'll go over and over things, different shades, different colors, you know, different tempos. Upholstery is the same thing. But with upholstery, there's no quarter. It's correct or it is not. And you will see that over time. But embrace all of these things. Don't overthink anything that you do. You get nervous, you get upset, stop back and look at it and you go, what am I doing? And you'll laugh when you go, oh, I'm doing a cushion. It's a cushion. You'll figure it out. But there are easy ways and hard ways to make it happen. So, I'm kind of rambling right now as I'm pulling staples. This is the worst job in upholstery. Nobody likes pulling staples, and there is not a tool invented yet that can do this for you. So, this is the grunt truck of the upholstery world. Everybody pulls staples. And if you're a big wig and you got money and you can hire folks to do this, and boy, you're winning. I'm not so lucky. So, these are your three biggest tools. Pair of dikes. You got your wide fin pry. Does many things. Has many names. You know, this, you know, and then your staple puller, of course. And your pen. You'll use these more than anything. So then you come through, you know, and you just, I like to get it out of the way because I'm going to iron these pieces, except for this. This is a gusset, and I will just take a measurement of this, the width, the length, and it has a seam there, and I'll just cut a brand new one. I won't iron this out, but the front, the top, I will. So it's a habit with me. I'm just very retentive, if you will, about everything. Like if you look at my shop is spotless, it's clean, everything. This is all to inspire me. This is all to make me excellent at what I do. This is to give me balance. My table is clean, my floors are swept, everything. So that's why I'm pulling staples right, probably, you know, out of the fabric. Probably don't have to, but I do it anyway. I go through and I like things clean. It gives me a better eye. It's like an aerial view, if you will. If you take these steps, all this will do is make you a better upholsterer, because you'll be more, you'll pay more attention to detail. It'll become a habit with you. Everything needs to lay right and look right and be right. So then when you address it, when its turn comes up on the table, everything just flows. Everything has to flow in upholstery, and you will cover ground and you will get things done. And you don't, you know, if it ain't right, tear it apart and do it again. No matter what. No matter what. If it ain't good enough for your beloved grandma to hand it to her, don't be giving it to the public. You do it right once or don't do it at all. Upholstery is a treat. You think about it, you know. I mean, that's a treat to get your motorcycle seat done, or get your tractor seat done, or, you know, your tractor, your old Chevy, or whatever. It's a big deal to get upholstery work done. You know, there's nothing like brand new upholstery. And you count on the guy that's going to do it for you. You know, the guy didn't cut no corners, you know. He didn't use old foam, you know. Just, you really trust someone, you know. And you can't let these people down. Upholstery is awesome. It really is. Just a little these mundane things are what chase people off usually. It's like, oh my God, how many staples are in this thing? So anyway, above and beyond, boom, boom, boom. So that's off. Okay, the whole perimeter is skinned. Yeah, and you know, I always put a blanket down, and normally I got a glove on when I'm doing this, but I like to come back through and pick up my staples. I'm really weird to have a small shop. I like to keep things clean. So just a leather glove, you know, and drag your staples to the edge, clean as you go. Always clean as you go, just like when you're doing dishes. If you're married and you don't clean the kitchen, you're going to cook your wife some dinner and you don't clean as you go, you ain't going to be married long. So here we go. So I like to pick up my staples, you know, especially when you're doing the brand new version. You can't lay this down. These staples will cut a hole, drag a scratch across your vinyl. You're cooked. No good. So make sure you got no danglers there like that one. That could cut me. Make sure there's no sharpies, because your fingers, you lose these, trust me. I mean, look at my hands. They're cut up. You get a nick or something and you're tugging and pulling, especially vinyl. Vinyl has something in it that will make your hands hurt at the end of the day, especially if you're doing massive pieces. And if you got a cut, oh my God, I've had to take days off just to not have a cut so I could work on something. And if it's bad enough, you're out of the race for a minute. And that is a fact. So, boom, 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 boom. Like I said, get in the habit of picking up your stuff, picking up your staples. You got a little shop like this, you clean as you go. You're not on the man's clock. You're working for yourself. So you can do this. Stay busy, stay focused. Don't lollygag. So, boom, boom, boom. The grabber, just pull off one side. Now there's an anchor, you'll see. When you have these contours, you got a big bulbous piece that dives down and comes flat like this. This is the back seat of the boat, actually. So once you get this off, it's kind of pressure pull. Now you'll look, now these are the front seams. Now, just kind of let that go. You see how that is stapled on the bottom? Yeah. Sometimes, like in automotive seats, the same aspect applies, and it's a bar that has to be hog-ringed to the base of the seat. So stick with me and I'll show you all these different aspects. But anyway, this is as you upholster this, you do it this way. You would do this one first. And as you see how this is called a sew allowance, where two pieces of fabric meet, 1/2 inch sew allowance, 0.5, 1/2 inch. So that's your guide. So if you flip this over, you can see. Okay, you want to keep that straight on that edged piece of foam. He's off a little bit here. This side looks good, but you want it straight. Everything has to ride the edges and perimeters. So, little thing to remember. And then, but yeah, it's a good habit to get a nice thin leather glove. And then staple pull, boom, boom, boom. This is an anchor. And you just systematically walk down, like everything, and get your staple pulling on. And like I said, just kind of think and twist. You don't want to destroy this wood. Always be kind to your wood. so you don't got to make any more. If you mess it up bad enough, you have to cut a new piece for the person. And that's on you. So, there we go. So, boom, 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 boom. And this one again, I mean, I'll pull these out later. But this, you just cut a new one. You mark it. Okay. See how that came across there? Boom, boom, boom. I myself would probably come a little bit closer, so I would put my anchor there. This one, I'd probably come a little bit further, another inch. It just lays better. I like to come to my perimeter always. So anyway, boom, boom. And then it comes right off. So that's the skin of the back seat. And if you'll notice, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 main pieces on the top, and then 2 pieces to the gusset, 5 and 6. And there's a French seam across there. And then piping all the way around. Okay. So yeah. So what I would do is I would measure the distance with the 1/2 inch sew allowance. That looks like about 7 inches. And then take this, iron the end out, cut my, my 7 inches, go to my length, and then do the dive, which is the edge of the seat. But I'll show you that later. Yeah, and you come through the ones that are in the board, and you pull these staples out, get rid of them. Yep. And a lot of times on the boat seats, like let's say that I've had this as a brand new piece of foam. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a real thin piece of plastic and lay it over. I'll take some tack glue and go maybe a couple spots across the top, less is more. Lay it across, fold it down, just let it lay. Let it lay. You don't got to get crazy with it. Just get it on there. So you waterproof it because this is for a boat. I like to do it anyway. It should be a service. It's a marine service. So with anything marine, you want that plastic on here. And you charge accordingly for all of these things. Unless you did your flat rate already, so try to incorporate it into that. That would be a surprise if you've never done it and you're trying to do it for someone else. That's a service. Okay, so there's my skin, my 2 pieces of foam. Let's pick it up and look at the bottom here. Okay. Now you can use a putty knife a lot of times to get this foam off, because I like to steam it from the bottom too. But you just kind of lift it up and see what you're looking at. A lot of times this same very tool will work. You just keep it flat. Depends on how much glue they used. But you don't want to damage it. So I'll probably use a putty knife on this. And it'll come up real clean. Yep, and then another thing, make sure your toolboxes are organized. Anyway, so I keep I try to collect as many tools as I can. I would advise you do the same. Keep my drywall tools over here. So yeah, putty knife, small, 6 inch, whatever. But little trick. See that? Lift with your hand and just kind of drag under, nice and easy. Don't force it. You don't want to hurt your foam. Foam is expensive. A lot of times, this is still good foam. You just got to steam it out. Plus, I'm going to put a 1/4 inch piece of scrim on this. So. See that? And you can see where they glued it. They were pretty liberal. So, boom, boom, boom. And you can, you can see where your seam was. So that's it basically. Your glue will tell you, so you don't get, if you're nervous about it, mark top, bottom, right, left. I always do that. But in some cases, it's just obvious where it goes. So this, he has this stretched across here. It doesn't go down. That's not really the way I would do it. But I'll see. Wait a minute. Yeah, so anyway, this is the back. And then we'll get a real quick look at it. But like the back, this is a little soft under here, so you want to be careful, like I said. Just barely bite and twist, bite and twist, bite and twist. Then we'll walk around and we'll see what he's hiding back here. Why? See at this angle? It should go flush to the bottom here, like this front piece. But it could be that it rests more snug, pulled like this. I'll know in a minute when I get to looking at it. And this is too damaged to reuse. See that how I did that? And I just popped that wood up a little bit. You got to be careful. Gotta be careful. Don't do what I just did. So I'll just gently pull these staples up. So you get a good purchase when you go back to staple the new stuff down. It's not a bunch of broken wood that you're stapling into. So the tear down is just as important as the assembly, the finished assembly. You have to be careful with your medium, which is your wood. That's without the wood, you got nothing to upholster to. Yeah. You'll get quicker at pulling staples. I've done countless pieces of furniture and boats and cars, and it's just, you just fly through this. Don't even think about it. I'm somewhere else. Usually I got music cranked, which is helpful. So, like I said, we come through and then let's see what we got under here. So yeah, I myself, like if you'll notice as I pull this up, you see how this goes flat in front? Now watch. See how I push down like that? That's how I'm going to do it. This railing, he had it pulled like this. Maybe he didn't have enough of this. Don't cut corners when you do this. Do it right and do it once, or don't do it at all. I mean, what would you want? You want the best. Put your hand and your heart in everything you do when you do this, and take your time and enjoy what you do. You're an artist. This is beautiful. You don't have to hang your head with upholstery. Okay, so anyway, that's how I'm going to do it. So that's usually the case, is he didn't have enough, or it could have been it rested different, but it's a seat, so that's unlikely to me. It's the bottom seat. So I'm just going to upholster it like that. Little things like that you'll recognize over time. I've done so many seats. And so you bring it down to the wood, because this is damaged, and I don't like that. I don't like that stretch. I want it like that. So we gently pull this off. And what do we got? We got 2 yards. And this is probably $14 a yard, maybe 12. But now that our beloved Biden's in office, it's probably 20 bucks. Bless his heart. So, moving on. Gotta be careful what you say anymore. You can't have opinions. Everybody will get mad at you. Only time you get my attention is when you start taking my money. or preventing me from making money. Good grief. Small businessman. We're hanging on by our teeth. Help me, Jesus. So, yep, and always, get rid of all your staples, everything. Use a glove, Like I said, your hands are your money. Don't mess up your hands. Take the time and put on a pair of gloves, for heaven's sakes. Trust me, wear gloves. You get a sliver, festers up. It'll affect everything. So, anyway. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. And this doesn't have to be nothing right now, so we'll just set this over here. And like I said, like I like to do, I pick up my staples as I go. Little shop, it's just me. And it prevents me, because I've had these, I've swept before and rammed one of these that got caught there and went right into my finger many times. So anymore, I just take my time and pick up, you clean your area as you go. Especially once you have all this cut and foamed and sewn back together and you're going to put that on there. When you lay this down, you want this all blown off. And I'm doing white, so yeah, you want it clean. And I might even put a piece of plastic or something down on top of this, because this is Harbor Freight. I buy these. What, they're $4 or $5. And once they get too funky, I just get rid of them. But I like them for tear down. And my table, I always repaint. My table's up for a repainting. You'll see some things on here and there, but you always want a brand new table, especially after a big dirty job. Like I just did a couple barber chairs, trashed my tables and my floor. I got to mop it up again. I use a little bit of muriatic acid and some bleach and some soap, and it just whitens it right up. Smells good. Promotes excellent thinking. I know it sounds corny, but you get in your shop and your shop is dolled out like this. And this is just old school. This is kind of mountain man cave stuff, but it works for me. I walk in here and it just calms me down, and I just walk through my projects and I don't miss anything. So moving on, we have the tear down complete for our seat, our decorative trim around the bottom, which I think I can reuse. And I can show you how to make that too. I mean, you can make it. I think it's 3 3/8. You sew one side, sew the other side. You leave that little trough in the middle, and Okay, so we're gonna have to buy 2 yards of this. And now, your foam. We can start with this just to keep this video alive real quick. So this is a steamer. You'll want to get a good one. And I'll give them a little plug. This is a Jiffy. And this is I mean, you can get the big one. This one's like $260. The big one, I mean, it's a lot bigger. And I think it's like $375, $380. If you're doing big work and you're steaming all day long and you got a big shop and you got 10, 11 employees, you want a couple big Jiffies and 2 or 3 of these smaller ones. But these work great. And so you just plug her in. You got a little jug here. You just stick it right in the top. Bam. And hit your little button. You'll see a little green light come on there. And you're good to go. And it heats up relatively quick. I make a little leather handle here. It's just me. I'm weird like that. I mean, it's not necessary, but I like the feel of it. So, you want to steam your foam. Always steam your foam, and then it'll tell you what you got. It'll tell you if it's still any good. You can usually tell. This isn't, no dust is coming off. You can reuse this, especially when you go to cut the pattern out fresh. You're going to use I like to use this scrim. Some people don't use scrim because it's expensive. I think it holds better. I think it has more integrity. Like this scrim here, this is called scrim. This is a 1/4 inch scrim and it has a fabric on it. So if you were to take like a piece of vinyl and glue this on there, you want the fabric down, so when you have a pattern, let's say on top, you sew through it, the thread grabs this and pulls up. It keeps it from pulling back through, so you can keep your pattern. Let's say you wanted to do a diamond pattern, and it's pillowed. Well, scrim enables you to do such a thing, and it doesn't fail on you because the fabric holds the thread. Now, on this application, because there's no sewing, no artwork being done on it, no aesthetic virtues, you could use just the 1/4 inch foam. It is considerably cheaper than scrim. I use scrim because it's got meat. And actually, that's probably all I have right now. But it's more expensive, so no one's losing. Usually takes about, I don't know, 10 minutes, 8 minutes. That pops up. And you can see the distortion. You see how these are the piping that I was talking about that wasn't right on the edge. See how it's not on the edge? That piping should ride that edge a half inch sew allowance out towards the edge. So when you go to fold it under or anchor it, it rides that line. And then this top one too, you want to ride that line. You want the perimeters, or else why would you have even made it curve like that? It's supposed to curve. It's not supposed to dive in 5/8 of an inch. That's incorrect. I would, if you worked for me, I'd make you redo it right there on the spot. After you said, "Here, boss, look at this," I'd say, "Yeah, that's nice, but that's wrong. Do it again." So, steam. See that? Now watch. Come up to your edge. Now watch that line. See that start to swell? Look at that. See how it just came out? So you walk around. Sometimes you can hold it up, and you got to wiggle your hose sometimes because condensation makes it stop working correctly. So I like to, cut a press in. Then you can come from the top too. Then you want to dive into this meat, and then that'll bring it up. You're resurrecting this foam. Come around, because this is a topper they have on here. This is a different density than this is. This is probably this appears to be an extra firm, and this is a medium firm on top. That's a topper. They've already done a topper. Instead of doing what I'm doing, they just went straight vinyl and they put a topper on. Now I'm going to glue my vinyl, my scrim to my vinyl. And like I said, I go all out. You get quality. And this is how you do it. It's expensive. It costs more, but tell them what you're doing. I'm going to go this extra mile. This is how I do it. This is how a real seat's made. This is how you do it correctly. But this is just a perfect example of topper versus scrim. Or, like I like to do it, I would have put this topper on it. Or not. I would have cut this extra firm to the width of this topper, and it eliminated the topper and just did the scrim on that. But it's work. Now, as you'll see in this next video. But you see all them dents and those divots? See how I come underneath that? Watch that just disappear. You see how that just, look at that. It just swelled up and is gone. Now watch that little divot there. See that? And then you push and you wiggle. You see, look at that, it's gone. Remember that 5/8 mistake? You can just barely see a faint line. And if you look, watch how the foam reacts. Do you see that line in front of there? That's that foam being resurrected. Now watch this go away. Look at that. That is contour. That is shape. That's the true shape. So that's what you want to avoid from doing. That's why you ride the edges. I'll look at these, and I might add, you know, a 1/4 inch, and that's probably all it would take is a 1/4 inch and a proper application when you go to anchor it down, like we saw how this folded over in the big piece. But as you can see, you see how that edge is coming back? Drag your... See how that just comes back to life? It takes a minute, but it's relatively quick. And if it doesn't respond like this, your foam's junk. And it's not, you know... That's another thing you need to talk to the customers about. If your foam is bad, once I uncover your seat, once I skin it, do you want me to replace it or just put the old stuff back in, even though it's junk? Little things like this that you're not going to think about saying, but over time, especially if you got to pay for it for some reason, you're going to remember these things. And you know, so anyway, you see how that edge came back? And then I always like to come underneath too. And you'll see how that resurrects. See that? That gives me this gives me top and bottom, I would say close to 1 inch of rise. 1 inch of rise is significant. It's significant. So this is a very, 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 this is important, as important as anything that you do, is steaming and taking your time and doing it right. All those little, that little swell, that's going to make your cushion look different. And it might enable you to keep from changing the pattern or adding a 1/4 inch like I just mentioned. But don't get overwhelmed. For the most part, it'll reveal itself, and you can follow the pattern exactly, and it'll go back together fine. Just be mindful of your piping and how you bolt it down. I mean, staple it down. So, you know, while I'm doing these little mundane tasks, I think of things. And you could always send me a question to our YouTube channel, and I'll answer it. You know, you see that? Look at that. Look how that's squished up. I'll just walk up and see how that just comes back to life. Now, like I said, this foam's still good. A lot of times there's foam that ain't no good. See, look at that. That's almost 1 inch on this corner that we just got back that was perfectly flat. Okay. Go from the top, and then you come from the side, press in, because this is the core. And you'll see it rise. You'll be able to, you'll recognize this over time. And especially from the bottom, because the steam just rolls right up through the whole thing. Now watch, see how that's swelling? Look at that, we're getting that whole edge back. It's subtle, but you can tell. And as soon as it stops doing that, that means you're good. But you just want to take that time. That's what upholstery is. You have to take your time. And you can see how it's coming up through the top. This porous, this foam. But your edges, that's all, you know. And unless there's some serious deviancy down the middle, you know, I'll usually come across it like this. Just a couple times across the very top. And you'll feel it's hot. So it's a pretty good drag. And if there's lines like that, take your time and push like this. You can manipulate it. You can push it. Wiggle your hose. See how it starts working better? The condensation falls down in the tank. Oh, that piece right there, you can tell that needs to be... Yep. Yeah. So like I said, I come around a quick one on the top. I go on the sides, restore my edges, and then I'll just a few brushes here and there, because this is pretty thin. This topper, it rises quick. As you can see, that little line that you're leaving there, that's restoration. Then push down and let that foam get in there, and play with it, work it. Wiggle your hose and see how it comes back again. That water, it's all steam. It's just a little thing they all do it. It's not, this thing's still brand new. So anyway, you just take your time and you revive it. And so that's how you steam out a cushion. So that's that one. And then we have this one. And then next, what we're going to do is seam rip our skin, the hide, if you will. And that's all for this quick video. We're going to start up with the skin. We're going to tear it apart. We're going to iron the parts that we need ironed. We're going to cut out brand new parts like gussets that we need. I'll show you why, as I mentioned. And then we're going to we're going to lay those out on the brand new vinyl, trace them out. There's a trick to that too. Cut them out, lay down a board, and glue those pieces to this scrim foam. Fabric side down, just because you'll always get in that habit. We're not sewing into it, but always remember to do it that way. And I'll see you in a minute. Later days.